Hello, SkepticalRoot here once again, if you couldn't figure that out on your own. Still, the voice still not quite there, but I thought I'd take the time to do a video tonight, and I was debating one of several topics, either going back to talking about some of the things that I mentioned in the video before the last one, about race, or about privilege, or those social types of issues, or addressing the Black Lives Matter movement, which will all kind of go together as part of a series of things. I'll probably start that maybe this weekend. I don't know. Kind of heavy for tonight. I didn't really want to throw anything out there that's too crazy, or that required me to think a lot, or to properly phrase things. So I decided that, no, you know what, I'll do one about guns and the American culture of guns, and my take on it, and how it should be approached, and how we should think of things in terms of guns and their function and usefulness, and my stance in general on guns, gun control, and gun laws in the United States. But again, I didn't really feel like that, because when I think about it, that will probably require more talking than I think my voice is up to at this point. But again, I did want to put some content up here, so I decided I'll go controversial. Dun dun dun. Controversial in the fact that I'm going to talk about politics, national politics, beginning with, and where I stand on the candidates currently running for president in 2016, and why I would vote for them, and in what way. I might also talk a little bit about the basic rundown of candidates that were running, and why I would or would not have voted for them. As you could probably tell, if you've ever watched The Drunken Peasants, which I do watch on a regular basis, usually while I'm doing something else, but this video wouldn't make it. I've spent 2 minutes and 40 seconds talking about what I'm going to talk about, instead of talking about what I'm going to talk about. I do appreciate their criticism, though, and from watching the videos that they do watch, at least for their format, getting to the point immediately makes more sense. But I thought a little nuance, a little explanation for why I was going this way with this video, instead of just jumping right into it. But let's start it off here. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton for president. Politically, I stand left libertarian. I am in the political compass test. I was left and below the center of the lower left-hand quadrant for authoritarian, or for libertarian, or liberal, and left. So I have an image of it somewhere. I think it's in my phone. Not about to go looking for it right now, though. But that's where I was. Imagine, let's see here. Where's my right finger? So I was about, imagine the screen. I was about down here. So I have good reasons for that, which could become whole conversations or whole videos on their own. But understand that I'm voting for Hillary. And I voted for Hillary in the primaries over Bernie Sanders. Not that I don't dislike, it's not that I dislike Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was a passionate politician, very engaged with the issues that he believed in. And I'm all for people like Bernie Sanders having a voice in moving the country forward to being more progressive. I hate that word. Far left, radical, authoritarian progressives have ruined it. much like many other labels that, as I've talked about my not being a joiner thing. The progressive label is all but ruined now, at least in the current political climate. I would not vote for Trump. I'm thinking back on any of the candidates that were running in the Republican primary. I actually, Kasich wasn't bad. Kasich was the least crazy of the field, and I don't think I would have voted for Kasich over Clinton, in that he is the current governor of the state of Ohio. And the things in the state of Ohio haven't been all that great for a while. And I'm not saying that it's Kasich's fault. Kasich did not run the place into the ground any more than any of the last several governors have. But Kasich reminded me a lot of Voinovich when Voinovich was governor. Did some pretty dumb stuff that I disagreed with, and besides the fact that they were both very fairly center right. I'm more left, but I'm a thinking leftist, if you will, and I'm a liberal leftist. I'm not an authoritarian leftist. Be that as it may, Trump is. What are the qualifications for president? Being 35 years old and a natural-born citizen of the United States. That's it. That's all you got to be. I could be president, and I think I might do a better job than Trump. But Trump has an appeal to a lot of people, especially in emotional camps, because he's a very persuasive person in that he keeps things simple. He uses common, repeatable, memorable rhetoric like Crooked Hillary to talk about stuff. He never just says Hillary Clinton. It's always Crooked Hillary. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if when the two of them get up and debate after their respective conventions and their nominations of the party, that he will not call her Crooked Hillary on the stage. I totally expect that, and that's fine. But you can't do that to, and I'm going to use this as a poor example because they seem to be kind of chummy. You can't say that to Putin. You can't say that to Kim Jong-un. I mean, you can because they're impotent, but North Korea, they could cause trouble for South Korea, and that would cause trouble for us. But you can't just say what you think. You can't use the persuasive techniques that Trump uses to win over Americans on other countries, because the language barrier, the things change in translation, and they won't come off well. In most cases, they won't. Even just in the wording differences that you have between American and British English, there's some loss in the persuasiveness of his rhetoric. And I had a conversation the other day about Hillary Clinton, and I with somebody who doesn't know how they're going to vote. They're Republican. They're not sure how they're going to vote. He doesn't really like Trump. He might vote for Gary Johnson, who is a libertarian candidate. He's got a lot of libertarian idea. I mean, he's a libertarian candidate, so he's not crazy. I would think he's more qualified than Trump is to be president, in that he has a nuanced perspective of different things, but he's still a little ideological in his libertarianism. Jill Stein for the Green Party strikes me as a sorry, strikes me as an older hippie. The policies of the Green Party are not the policies of America. They could be the policies of Colorado or Alaska or a state that has low population density areas. I think it'd be fine. I'm not going to get into the to Gary's or Jill's positions too much, because I want to talk about Hillary for a minute. Because this came from the conversation that I was having with this person. And it comes down to Hillary Clinton is the most qualified candidate running for president right now. She may be one of the most qualified candidates to run for president that the country has seen in a while. Being Secretary of State, being a senator, being a first lady. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat from sick. Antibiotics are working. My throat doesn't scream like it did the other day, but so she has constantly been under investigations for something or other since she was first lady. Every single investigation has ended with her not being convicted or not being charged, in almost all cases never being charged with anything. And the stigma around those investigations have been dragged out. I don't want to say it's a sexist thing, but I imagine that if it were Bill Clinton, and what have we heard about Bill Clinton since he left the presidency is jack all and nothing. People almost just tease him about, the Lewinsky scandal and his impeachment and all that kind of stuff. But Hillary, who stayed in the spotlight, has had this stuff constantly flung at her over and over and over again in such a way to say is, you're a woman, shouldn't be running for president. I'm not voting for Hillary because she has a vagina. Don't get me wrong. I'm not voting for her because she's a woman. I'm voting for her because even if every bad thing that has been said about Hillary Clinton is true, and she had people killed, and, she was utterly incompetent in Benghazi, and she's a scammer from the Whitewater stuff, and all this other stuff, and all the shady donations of the Clinton Foundation and all this other kind of stuff. She's still the leading candidate. She still has the most experience, understanding. She may be a corporatist candidate, but the worst thing that could happen under Hillary Clinton, because of her liberal leanings and because of the scrutiny that she's always under, is the worst case scenario is 4 years of the same stuff we've done for the last 8. That's the worst thing that can happen. Unless she picks a bad VP choice and then she gets assassinated and then that person takes over and runs into the ground. But I don't think that's... Hillary's going to pick a conservative choice, not a conservative person for VP. Much like Obama picked Biden, who picked someone who could have Biden could have done the job. He wouldn't have been reelected had anything happened to Obama. But she will probably pick someone who's more liberal than she is to balance the ticket. I think that she should ask Bernie Sanders. She won't. I don't think that she should have pick somebody specifically because they're a minority candidate. I thought I knew his name. And now I can't even remember what he's in charge of right now. One of her candidate choices was a Hispanic gentleman, and I can see his face, and I can't think of his name. But her VP choices, I think, are gonna. She will pick a clean candidate who is slightly more liberal than she is. And no matter what, it will be a better choice than whoever Trump picks. I can't think of anybody that Trump could pick, other than John Kasich, honestly. That would be a solid choice. Ted Cruz would bring the conservative Christian voters, but the conservative Christian voters are becoming a smaller and smaller section of the conservative base even. The Tea Party kind of ruined that. With all the small parties, small government talk at the expense of everything. I think that Christians moved away from that a little bit. Not to mention that there are fewer Christians in this country than there were 8 years ago or 20 years ago. if the religious right formed a party now or tried to influence a party now, it would be nothing like it was under Reagan. That was a long time ago when Christianity was much stronger. I just saw a post on Twitter from, might have been Michael Shermer, talking about how in the United States, on average, the nuns, as in the N-O-N-E apostrophe S, are now the largest religious voting bloc in the country, even more than Catholics and Protestants, at 21%. The next largest is at 20%, and plus or minus bars for, whatever that they were. It was an infographic I saw really quickly before I make this video. So the party wouldn't have, the conservative Christians wouldn't have what they had in the past. Hillary may be a mistake. She may be a bad choice, but, and I don't even think that this is a choosing the lesser evil. I think that Hillary Clinton is probably I honestly think that she's qualified for the position. I think that she has enough insider knowledge about being a politician in Washington to actually do something, to get more stuff done than Obama did. Obama came in his first 4 years, even in his first 2 years when he had, democratically controlled House, I want to say, and I'm afraid the House and Senate. But nothing got done. And it wasn't because the conservatives were in there blocking him. It's because liberals tend to be more nuanced and they argue about fine points because they want to do it right the first time. Where conservatives have more of a tendency to, let's do the big picture stuff and worry about the details later. Which is why when more bills tend to be passed under Republican presidents of Republican controlled either House or Senate, because the bill comes through, it hasn't been well vetted as far as making sure it's proper and correct, but it does something. Its intent is for some specific function, and it ostensibly does that function, and so it sounds good. It's a soundbite. It's a let's go do this, because the conservatives tend to appeal more to the authoritarian side of the political spectrum. Not to say that there aren't plenty of authoritarian or leftists out there, but they're too busy shouting at each other or shouting at themselves, where someone like Trump comes in and makes this big emotional appeal. Let's build a wall. We'll keep those Mexicans out, I suppose. It's an emotional appeal. It gets people riled up, and Republicans pass legislation like that, and that's fine if it does something constructive, because it can be revised and edited and all this other kind of stuff later. But it makes the Republicans seem like they're more of an active party than the Democrats, who want to have the facts and have everything correct and proper before it gets passed. And even like with the Affordable Care Act, it wasn't perfect. It's not by any means perfect. Single-payer healthcare would have been better. Even some conservatives that I know agree with that. And I think that we should have a system like they do in Canada, where each province has its own, governing body that runs their own healthcare for each province. And if you're a citizen of that province, then you get your healthcare, and go Google it. It's not horrible. You can't. It's not single-payer healthcare for the entire country. Every province in Canada runs their own single-payer system. And we could have every state run its own single-payer system. The federal laws, or I should say the national laws in Canada only mandate minimum services. Your plan must cover X, Y, and Z. Much like Obamacare says, you can't block pre-existing conditions. You have to offer this level of service. You have to offer this type of thing for whatever. That's what the federal law lays out, and then it's each province runs their own system. Much like the exchanges would have been had all the states done it like they were supposed to. So Medicare for all kind of system would probably be best. God, for not wanting to talk a whole lot because my throat's starting to hurt now. This is a long video. So, Clinton for president. Argue with me in the comments if you don't agree. But make a comment. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that Clinton is trash? Do you think that Trump is trash? Do you think? I mean, just tell me what you think. I don't care. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment, as I already mentioned. Share it with friends on social media, and subscribe to my channel. I've got 3 subscribers right now. Followers, getting my Twitter and my YouTube mixed up. I think I have 7 followers. 7 followers, maybe 9 followers on Twitter. So like, comment, share, subscribe, and goodbye and hello, as always.
If it doesn't,